So I don't know who's hosting tonight. Thank you. Oh, but it's
That's
going. Okay. Well, on behalf of the Columbus Karma Takes Some Trolling Meditation Center, I want to welcome everybody who's here tonight for the second of our um, programs on how to meditate and how to incorporate meditation into your life. The whole idea of having a 10-day meditation challenge was, what can I say? It was an unusual idea, but because many of us have benefited from the practice of meditation, we thought it was a good thing to share with the community as part of a fundraiser. So instead of running a 5K, the Buddhists are going to do 10 days of meditation instead. So since the goal is to try to incorporate meditation into daily life, we thought that if we gave people 10 days and the commitment to try to meditate once a day for 10 days, they might be able to find a way to fit meditation into their everyday life. And I don't know if anybody is out there is feeling like sharing this evening, but if you do feel like sharing, you can unmute your microphone. I see that some people do. Yeah, some people don't have their microphones muted. So sounds from your house will come onto the recording. Just wanted to let you know about that. But if anybody is interested in sharing about how it's been for them in the last couple of days trying to fit meditation in, you want to share, we're here to listen. So I'm curious, does anybody have anything to share about fitting meditation into their life? Easy, hard? Nah. Okay. Well, when we spoke about it last night, we talked about how finding a space in your day where you're not doing a lot of other things is one way to fit meditation into your everyday life. And so we're hoping that over the 10 days that you'll be able to make a bit of a habit of meditating, and that you'll be able to keep the habit of meditating going after the 10 days is over. So that's the idea. We're hoping for that. So at the same time, we're raising money for Columbus KTC, and you can check our Facebook page out and our Instagram. And we have some wonderful pictures of the center going up, going up, going up. So you can take a peek at those. So this evening, the topic for this evening is confidence. And before I get into the topic, I thought it might be good if we started out with a little bit of meditation. So I'm going to review briefly a brief meditation instructions so that you have a sense of the technique, and we'll do maybe 5 minutes of meditation together, and then we'll have a little discussion, and then I'll talk a little bit about this evening's topic. So when I teach meditation, I like to encourage people to sit comfortably, and that means you can either sit in a chair or sit on the floor. If you're sitting in a chair, you can place your feet flat on the floor, about hip width apart, and your hands can be placed palm downward on the legs. If you're sitting on the floor, you can cross your legs in front of each other, or you can put one on top of the other, however it's comfortable for you to sit. Your seat should be grounded. You should be grounded on your seat, and that your cushion, a small cushion underneath you if you're on the floor. If you're in the chair, that's taken care of. The lower back should have its nice curve in it. And then the upper body, if you imagine that your breastbone is moving up, that will give you a good shoulder posture without the hunch. In terms of the chin, you can tuck your chin in slightly, and this will straighten the neck vertebrae. And you can also cast your eyes downward a few feet ahead, gazing generally ahead of you without looking at something in particular. If it is distracting to look down, then you can close your eyes slightly. There is a little danger of falling asleep if you close your eyes, but I think it's okay. Then lastly, the tip of the tongue can be touched to the upper palate behind the front teeth and then flattened as a way of relaxing the face, the muscles of the face and the jaw. And so that's the posture. The legs, the seat, the back, the shoulders, hands and arms, the chin, the gaze, and the tip of the tongue. And the way I was taught was you start with the posture and then just relax into the posture for a moment. And then begin with the mental intention. I'm going to be following my breath for the next few minutes as a method of meditation. And I'm doing this for the benefit of myself and all sentient beings. Breath awareness begins with one deep breath, feeling that the air drops below the navel, breathing out, and then allowing the breath to come and go naturally, placing your attention on the breath as it comes in and goes out. You can either follow the breath all the way in, follow the breath all the way out, or merely follow the out breath, or merely be aware of the sensation of the air as it comes and goes right at the nostrils. When you place attention on the breath, what you'll get is a short period of attention to the breath, which will be followed by a short period of mental wandering. Maybe we'll wander into something that happened earlier today. Maybe we'll wander into something that's going to happen tomorrow. Maybe we're aware of something going on right now. And when we find that we have wandered, we notice that we have wandered. We touch the thought lightly with our attention. You can even label it thinking. You let go of it, and then you return your attention to the breath for a fresh start. And in this way, we touch and let go of thoughts and return over and over again during the session. So I'll strike a gong now and we'll sit for just a few minutes. Okay. So, how was that? Okay. Questions? Anybody have question or curiosity about the technique or how it's going, etc.? No? Okay. Then I guess the next thing for me to do then is to talk a little bit about some of the difficulties that can arise for people. If they're not arising for you, that's great. But but I think it would be useful if I talked a little bit about the two problems that people have. One problem is agitation, and then the other is sleepiness. And my meditation teacher, in one of his books, he talks about how to handle these two problems that can arise, and they both involve use of visualization. And our imagination is really powerful and can help us a lot. And so when we are having trouble with sleepiness, and we feel as though we're about ready to fall asleep when we're meditating, this can be a little bit disconcerting. And one of the things that can lead to that is trying to meditate after a big meal, or being in a room that's too warm, or wearing too warm of a sweater. And so if your body's a little too warm, you'll be sleepy. If you're a little too full with lunch, you'll be sleepy. And if we don't get enough sleep at night, we will be sleepy. So all of those ways, sleepiness can become a problem. But my meditation teacher told me that one technique for working with sleepiness is to, if you're wearing a heavy sweater, take off your heavy sweater or open your window a little bit to get a cool breeze. Make sure that you meditate a little bit later after your meal. And another thing that one can do is, when you're sitting in meditation and you become sleepy, that you can actually tip your chin up a bit, and you can look up into the space in front of you in the room where you are, and imagine that there's a shaft of light that's going up and away from you. And by imagining that light, and then sending your out breath into that shaft of light, the breath can come back to you as light, and then it will illuminate your body from within. And that you can do this one time or two times or three times. And then by doing that, it helps to lift the sleepiness. And that's something that can be done when you're feeling sleepy. Now, other people have the opposite problem. Their mind is very busy. And when their mind is very busy, it's a little difficult to observe the breath and to stay with it. And so one of the things that can lead to this agitation is being too hungry. So you have to meditate at the right time of day, not too close to the meal, but not too far away either. And if your body is too cold, you also might feel some agitation. So then you have to warm up. And another thing you can do is use visualization, use your imagination. And as you are gazing down anyway, as you're gazing down, you think that a shaft of darkness opens into the ground in front of you and going away from you. And as you breathe out, you think that your breath goes out into the darkness, and then it comes back to you as darkness, and it cools you off, and it quiets you down. And so you can do that one time or two times or three times, or however many times is useful in order to calm the agitation. So that's something, those are two techniques you can use if you're feeling sleepy or agitated. Does anybody have questions about sleepiness, agitation, or anything else? This is, because this is a good time to talk about it. Okay, so no questions. That means more meditation. So yes, there is a question. Okay.
At what point do you, if you are meditating, let's say you're having, I guess, quote unquote, maybe a bad time, and at what point do you just say, all right, forget about it and just stop meditating?
Yeah. By a bad time, you mean like too agitated or too sleepy?
Maybe I'm trying to force it. I'm trying to, I'm so distracted, or I had such a bad day at work, thinking that meditation may help, but it just doesn't. Right? I'm still absorbed by the stressors of the day.
Yeah. One of the things you could try before setting it aside would be to do a more active style of meditation, because sometimes when we get really honed in on a particular problem, and this happens with work problems sometimes, or home problems and things like that. And some people tell me they just get into a bad mood and they don't want to meditate. But what's really interesting is that in some way, it's okay to meditate when you're in a bad mood, and it's okay to meditate. And it's it's not wrong to try to meditate when you're in a bad mood, but the meditation manuals do say that you need to leave your meditation on good terms. So if you're becoming upset and frustrated, well, then of course you have to stop. But before you do that, you might try a couple of other ideas first. One idea would be to use the exercise that we talked about yesterday, breathing in, the exercise that was taught by the Tibetan doctor, of breathing in for the count of 5, holding for the count of 5, and then breathing out for the count of 5. And then after you've done that, there's a second and third phase to that. So that's the first phase, is just trying to calm down with the breath. And then the second phase is to close your eyes and think your way from the top of your head all the way down to the soles of your feet, noticing if you have places in your body that are tense, where you're feeling tension and pain or any kind of problem like that. And so then when you get back down, to get all the way down to your feet, and then you start working your way back up, you go up a little bit more quickly, and just note the areas of difficulty and pain and tension. And then after you've gotten all the way back up to the top, the Tibetan doctor said, you imagine that your body is full of water, and that the plug comes out from the bottom of your feet, and then all of that tension and difficulty whooshes out, and that it drains the tension out of your body. So those two things, that second phase can also help if there's a lot of frustration and pent-up tension in the body. And then he said, and if you're still having trouble after that, he said, there's one more thing you can try. And he said, imagine that in front of you in space, there's a gate. He said, you can make it out of stone, you can make it out of metal, you can make it out of whatever, but just imagine that there's a gate in front of you in space. And he said that as you can either use your breath or just your imagination, imagine that all of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions you're having, even the really crummy, awful, frustrated feelings that you're having, it comes out and it goes through the gate. And on the other side of the gate, that all that emotion turns into golden light. and then it fills you and it fills the room you're in, and then it actually gets bigger than your house and it fills the whole neighborhood, and then it fills the whole region, and then it fills the whole universe. And this golden light, he said, you can think of this golden light as being the golden light of universal compassion. So all of that gunky stuff that we don't like, the frustrations and the unpleasant feelings, we send them out through the gate and then see them transform into this golden light. And hopefully, he said, one of those is going to help. So he gave 3 methods, the breathing, and then the exercise going from the top of the body to the bottom of the body and back up again, and then imagining that you're full of water and whoosh, all of the tension goes out. And then finally the gate in space, imagining that all of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions go through it and become the golden light of universal compassion. And, and if after all of that, you still just feel really like totally crummy, then it is probably time for a nap. Thank you for the question. I have a friend, and she really believes in the power of naps. In fact, she pointed out a bumper sticker on a car once that, in fact, it's her car, and it's a sleeping kitten. And then the words on the bumper sticker say, "There's a nap for that." There's a nap. Okay, so that no matter what problem you have, there's a nap for that. So there you go. Any other things that people are curious about?
I have a question.
Yes.
What about, feeling compelled to get up and do things? You're in your meditation. I think of 6 things I need to do.
This is a real common thing, because we spend our entire day, really, right? We spend our entire day trying to get things done. And one of the things we can do, my meditation teacher said, this is Kempo Karthar Rinpoche, my meditation teacher said that when your mind is really distracted and so forth, you can, he said, it can be a little bit frustrating. He said, but try this. And so he said, what you can do, he said, because he criticized me because I said, well, I have a pad of paper and I write stuff down. And there's like, no, don't do that. And so he said, instead, try this. He said, tell yourself, oh, yeah, okay, I have to do that later. May I be able to remember to do that when this meditation is done. And then he said, you can give yourself permission to forget about it until the meditation is done. He said, that way you've given it some attention, right? You've given it attention, and which is what it wanted anyway, right? This thing that was bugging you, right? And so you gave it some attention, and then you said, not now. And I'm thinking that if you try that, I would be very interested to see what would happen if you tried that and how that goes. Okay, so report back and let us know if that's helpful, because I didn't know what to do about it myself until he said that. He said, because he says, if you're really, your mind is in a state of relaxed attention, he said, it is more likely than not that you will remember it later. It may not be immediately when you finish the meditation session, but if you make a note, may I remember that, and then just go back to your meditation. He said it more often than not, you'll remember. So meditation is something we've got to do, It's got to have at least as much importance as unloading the dishwasher, right? At least. Yeah. Thank you for the question. I got time for one more. Is there one more out there? Other questions? Okay. Well then, before we do another session of meditation, let me say a couple of things about the topic for tonight, which is confidence. When we first start meditating, a lot of us come to meditation because we feel a little extra stressed. We feel some stress in our life, and or that things aren't going as well in our everyday life as we would like for it to. And we look to meditation as an oasis in our day. And we look at it as a way of being with ourselves quietly. And I guess you could say it's like plugging into our battery and recharging our battery. And this idea of recharging ourselves by allowing our mind to come to rest is a really healthy thing, because as you'll see in the next 10 days, every day we're going to send you a different quality or benefit from meditation, such as lowering blood pressure and bringing about better sleep habits and things like this. But I think that the main thing that meditation did for me personally was that it gave me some space from the things that were troubling me. It gave me some relaxation in time when I did not have to think about my problems. All I had to do was watch my breath. I didn't have to involve myself in solving something. I just had to simply be with myself as I was. And I think that for a lot of people, that is a feeling of relief. And when we're doing the actual discipline of meditation, if we're watching the breath, for example, and a thought crosses the screen of the mind, sometimes those thoughts we're able just to not involve ourselves in them and let them go. But sometimes the thought will go through and then it will captivate us, and we'll be captivated by it for a short period of time. And for a moment, it's as though we are born in the world of that thought, and we're thinking and being with that thought. Maybe it's in the past, maybe it's in the future, maybe it's in the now. But whether it's the now, the past, or the future, we're captivated, and we're not where we are. We're not in the present moment of our mind's awareness. And so the technique of noticing that we have wandered, labeling it thinking, letting it go, and then consciously returning to the breath for a fresh start, that technique, which one of the lamas called touch and let go, that technique is an incredibly powerful technique for transforming our habitual thoughts. And let me tell you how that works. When we go through our day, we're always weighed down by a lot of thoughts, a lot of responsibilities, a lot of worries, a lot of difficulties. And some of these are expectations that other people have of us. And then some of them are expectations we have of ourselves. Perhaps we've internalized some negative self-talk. Perhaps we've internalized something that bothered us from the past, or another person bothered us from the past. And we began to internalize those negative thoughts. And we need some relief from that as well. And it could actually happen that when we're meditating, some of those thoughts will arise, because when our mind is more relaxed, some things will come up. And people have said to me, sometimes I've had some bad memories arise to me when I'm meditating. And sometimes, but those times have actually been somewhat useful. And the reason these times can be somewhat useful is because when we have any thought that comes through, the technique is to notice it, let it go, and then return to the breath as though we're having a fresh start. Now, when we interrupt a thought that's captivated us, that thought's captivated us and we're with the thought, and suddenly we realize that we're not meditating, we're now thinking, and we need to stop. We actually can think about, touch, and let that thought go. And when we do that, it really just disappears. because from the moment we've dropped it to the moment we've replaced our attention on the breath, that thought that we were so captivated by disappears and it completely is gone. Now, for some people, that doesn't happen. Sometimes it kind of creeps back up and we have to notice it and discard it again. But often, just the action of noticing, labeling, and letting go, the thought will disappear. And then we'll be able to reestablish a period of just watching the breath. And that moment where we've reestablished that connection to our breath is a very powerful moment. It's the moment that we made a decision about what we were going to do with our very valuable resource of our attention. Our attention belongs to us, and we can actually make a decision about where we're going to place that attention and how we're going to place that attention. And so this process of noticing, discarding, and returning, noticing, discarding, and returning is in a way, it's a way of becoming confident in our own capacity to reclaim our attention and to place it where it's going to do us the most good, which in the moment of meditation, it's in placing it on the breath in the moment, being with the breath in the moment. And in that way, we're establishing ourselves as the person who is in charge of our attention in that moment. And when we see that even the ugly thoughts, even the scary thoughts can actually be handled in the same way, they can be touched, acknowledged, and relinquished. And then we can change and move our attention to the breath. When we can do that, it actually gives us a little bit of confidence. Confidence that we can make a change. Because if you can change even just one little thought, if you can let go of even just one memory or one troublesome habitual thought, there's a feeling of empowerment that comes from that. And the feeling of empowerment that comes from that is something that can boost our self-confidence. We don't have to be as afraid of the things that we're thinking. I've actually met people who've told me that they felt oppressed by their thoughts. They felt that they couldn't get control of their thoughts. They felt that their thoughts were basically crowding them out so that they could not live their life the way they wanted to. And the practice of meditation gave them back the capacity to say no to their habitual pattern and say yes to being in the moment. And so when we practice meditation, at first it seems rather artificial. It's very artificial at first. I mean, we're sitting in a way we're not used to sitting, and we're placing our attention in a way we're not used to placing it. And and it all seems a little artificial. But once we become accustomed to watching the breath in this way and being with the breath in this way, it becomes familiar. It's like today, for an example, I had to do some teaching this morning, and so I was sitting for a very long time. And you know how when you sit for too long, you get a little achy and so forth and so on. Well, I was able to go out and take a walk because it really was that warm today. I'm guessing it was up near 80 today. It was really warm, and so it felt so good to be out in the air, to feel refreshed from my body felt refreshed and so forth. And after a while of meditating, it becomes like a natural feeling to be able to settle down and know that now for the next few minutes, I'm just going to settle down. I don't have to solve the problems at home. I don't have to solve the problems at work. I don't have to do anything but just be with my breath right now, simply and genuinely. And in a way, for me, it's like going into what I did today when I left my house and got outside and felt the air and felt the movement of the body. It felt really good. And this is something that we can do for ourselves by sitting and meditating, even just a few minutes a day. Now, it takes a little bit of time to get confident with the technique. And so what I tell people is give yourself time to adjust to the technique. And when you first sit down, your mind is very wild and it takes a long time to get your mind to follow the technique. It's really best, and this was something my meditation teacher told me, it's best to give yourself enough time on your meditation seat for things to calm down a bit. And then you'll get some of the benefits of just being with your breath. And then there's another type of meditation you might have where when you first sit down, everything is smooth. Everything is easy. The technique comes naturally. But the longer you sit, the more it breaks up, the more difficult it becomes. And this refers to the earlier question about leaving your meditation on good terms. If a person starts to become too frustrated, then it's better to stop the meditation when they're feeling decent rather than waiting too long. So this is how we gain confidence in the practice. We gain confidence in the practice technique. We get confident with that. And when we see those habitual thoughts begin to recede into the background, and we get some sense of refreshment from that, then we get some confidence in ourselves. And we also get some confidence in the potential for change. And this, I think, is going to lead to tomorrow's talk that Lama Adam is going to give on courage. Because as we get confident, then we are going to become courageous and we're going to be able to make some changes in our life. Because right now, a lot of us do feel that we're set and we're not going to be able to change this or change that. But when we see those thoughts disappear and we begin to realize that who we think we are, our sense of ourself and our sense of our habits and so forth, they're just with these thoughts, which are so fleeting, so short-lived, and can disappear so quickly, that maybe there's more to us than just these thoughts. So I think that's all I want to say about the topic of confidence. But if you have any questions, I can address them. If the talk has brought any thoughts to your mind, or you have a comment or a question, you can share. Did I see a hand raise? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for being here and listening tonight. So I guess the next thing to do is to do some sitting. So we'll do another short session of sitting, and then we'll close for the evening. Okay, again, placing the body in the posture of meditation, the seat, the back, the legs, the shoulders, hands and arms, the chin, the gaze, the tip of the tongue, allowing the body to settle into the posture for just a moment. Then beginning with the intention, the mental intention, I will meditate for the next few minutes to benefit all beings. And then taking one deep breath, feeling it drop below the navel, breathing out, and then allowing the breath to come and go naturally, placing your attention on the breath as it comes in and goes out. As thoughts arise, we let them go by, or we use the technique of touch and let go and return. So we'll sit quietly for just a few minutes. Okay. That was a session of meditation. I'm really happy that you came to the program tonight. It feels good to sit with people, even on Zoom. It's good, actually. There's the sense of being present. Anybody have comments, thoughts, questions? Yes.
Distractions. So beyond sounds, but what about itches?
Yeah. Yeah. Or like little aches and pains. Yeah.
Do you just, sorry to interrupt, but do you just observe them, or do you just like, all right, get rid of it and get back to breathing?
A combination was what I was taught. When we asked our meditation teacher what to do about these things, he said, use it as an opportunity to train yourself. And he said, here's an example. He says, when you feel like an ache or a pain or an itch, he said, note it, make a note about it, but then tell yourself, I don't have to do anything about that at all. I can just let that be. And then he said, and then go back to observing the breath. And then he said, the second time that you notice it, if you think you can do that again, do it again. But if not, he said, then on the second time it bothers you, he said, then you can rearrange your posture, or you can scratch, or whatever you feel like you need to do. But he said, what you did there, he said, was notice what you did. You told yourself you didn't have to do anything about it, and you didn't. And he said, so what you did was you stretched yourself a little bit beyond what you normally would do. He said, because often we're very impulsive and we just go, oh yeah, I gotta do this, or I gotta change my posture, or whatever. And he said, when you tell yourself, I don't need to really do anything about that, he said, sometimes the itch goes away. and sometimes the pain goes away. But he said, if it continues to bother you, well, then sure, do what you need to do. But so it's a combination. It's not just stay there with it and bear up with the pain. It's just stretch yourself a little bit past where you're used to going, and then make your move and change. Because my teacher basically said that it's very important to make accommodations when you're first learning to meditate and not worry about these things too much. So yeah, good question though. Any other question, curiosity? Well, fantastic. Yeah, and I noticed that down in the chat, Kim says, great to sit with you. It really is. It's like, it's a real thing. Well, we can talk about that sometime, about the whole idea that even when people are not in the same room together, they're sort of in the same room together. So it's pretty cool, actually. Well, then this brings our program for this evening to a close. I can't thank you enough for bringing your sincerity to this Zoom room, and being with us tonight. Thank you too. And being part of our 10-day meditation marathon. And so if you are moved to log your minutes online, you can do that. And if you are moved to talk to your friends and family, and you can invite them too. We're going to be here every night, 7 o'clock, from now until a week from tomorrow. So 10 days, and every night there'll be a different topic. So invite you back for tomorrow then. And so let's sit quietly, just as a mental. This is a common thing in Buddhism, to dedicate the goodness of your session to the benefit of others. So it's not just us that we're benefiting others. So let's sit quietly for a moment and mentally offer the goodness of this session to the world and make the aspiration that all beings are filled with goodness, that all of the difficulties and disputations among people be pacified, and that all beings are able to be with one another in kindness. Okay, thanks very much. It's great. It's great to see all of you tonight. And I will not be able to be with you tomorrow night, but Lama Adam will be here. And I'm thinking Lama Tom, you'll be there. You'll be here too tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So I will be seeing you then again on Tuesday evening. So have a great night, everyone. Rest well, stay safe, wash your hands, do everything you have to do. Take really good care of yourself. Lama, be safe out there. Okay. Okay. Have a
Thank
great
you.
night.
Good night.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.